Why am I going to Harvard? Why am I freaking going to Yale? Like, why not? Why not me?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we have Dr. Gamo, who's joining us today for an amazing interview. Thank you so much for making time, Dr. Gamo.
No problem at all. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, actually. It's just a bit cold outside, but besides being cold, I'm doing fine.
I know, yeah. Today is rainy here in Atlanta, but I'm going to stay in
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, but we
Yeah.
can't complain when it's raining during winter.
I know it's 10 degrees
Oh,
Celsius
wow, that's
here, but
cold.
uh-huh.
So, Dr. Gamo, I know I recall the first time we met was in Cameroon. Was it in Yaoundé
Cool.
or Douala?
I think it was Yaoundé. It
Yaoundé.
was Yaoundé.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I remember we played a match, and I'm not too sure if it was a prize money or it was a ITF, but I did play against you that year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I remember the tournament because it was a very fun match. Let's just
yeah,
say
it
it
was
like
a
that.
fun match. Yeah, you end up
Yeah,
winning. You played really hard. You put yourself out there, and so you end up winning.
yeah,
That was a
yeah.
really good experience for me. I think that was my first time in Yaoundé or Douala.
Oh.
I had a good time, and
Mm-hmm.
I tried the food. You call that bâton de manioc. I tried that,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I tried different other food, the fish, the ndole. I tried different, Cameroonian delicacies. Yeah,
Ndole is the thing to try
yeah,
anytime.
right.
It's my
Okay,
favorite food.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. So for everyone who's listening, we have Dr. Gamo, Dr. Linda Gamo here, who also played college tennis. I want to highlight that she played college tennis because yes, she played college tennis, and it's totally possible to become a doctor playing college tennis. But I don't want to steal Dr. Gamo's shine. I want to let her tell us her path, the process, her journey
Yeah.
from playing college and becoming today a doctor from one of the top Ivy League school in the world. So, Dr. Gamo, you have the floor. Can you tell us after, let's say, after playing tennis for the Cameroonian Federation,
Mm-hmm.
what was next? What happened there after that? And how did you end up coming to college? And how
Yeah.
did you end up going to Yale?
Right. That's a really, really long and amazing question at the same time because that's about what 12-year pathways from now when I look back at it.
Mhm.
But I mean, essentially, I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to come to play tennis for a school in Louisiana at the time. It was a full ride, and meaning that everything was paid, including my meals and housing. I
Awesome.
did that for 4 years. I actually studied engineering in college because I was dead set on becoming an engineering and having a job right after school and stuff like that. But then I worked for a couple of months right after graduation and realized that that wasn't for me. So I decided to take a couple of more courses in college to be a candidate for medical school, basically. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to like do the practicing twice a day in between classes. Sometime you I can't remember. I remember going to bed feeling exhausted, but I still had to do homework and stuff. So it was very tough managing college and being a Division 1 athlete. But it is completely doable. And knowing that I wanted to go to medical school, you have to keep that high GPA because most of the medical students have a 4.0 GPA. So it was very challenging trying to balance both of them. But since I was raised that way from a very, very young age, I felt like it was something that I could achieve, and I actually did. I ended up graduating with a 3.9, and I
Wow.
think that was the highest in engineering they ever had. So getting letter of recommendation was very easy for my professors. They were very um, how do I put that? They really advocate for me to follow my dreams, and they understood that I was gonna leave engineering behind and go into the medical field, and they really didn't mind writing me letters of recommendations and stuff like that. So fast forward, I went to medical school. That's another 4 years of no sleep, no life, just studying. But But at that point, I wasn't playing tennis anymore because my last year of college, I ended up having an injury, a wrist injury. I
Okay.
had an operation done, and I was never able to get back to 100%. And my forehead was basically gone after the surgery. So that was really awful.
Sorry to hear that.
Um, yeah. But I knew I needed to make the best out of it. You know, I had an aunt growing up who always say, "Well, it's great that you love tennis, but what happened if something happened and you can no longer play tennis? Then what?" You know? She was very smart like that. So
Gosh.
that was my moment in life where I was like, well, okay, tennis is not gonna happen. I'm not gonna play WTA, or I'm not gonna be the next Serena Williams or whatever. So I had to find something else that I'm just as much passionate with. And I knew it has to be something that matter, at least to me, something that I feel like matter and changes people's life. So going to medicine actually made sense to me. Um, I did 4 years, finish medical school, applying for residency, and now I'm a third year resident, which is basically what people call specialty. Third year resident at Yale School of Medicine, and I'm also at Yale New Haven Hospital. So I'm mainly in Connecticut now. I mean, I've been there for the past 2 years. I have 1 more years to go, and I'm actually looking into applying for a fellowship in global health medicine, which is something that I want to do because it would take me back home and back to Africa and back to other regions in the world that actually need medical services and medical health. So that's
Wow.
my trajectory at this point in time.
That's amazing. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
breaking down your journey. And I'm going to go back a little bit and pick on little things because I do have
Okay.
some players that are currently
Okay.
in college and they told me they want to go into the medical field after.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're competing, let's before your injury and you're playing tournaments and traveling for your
Mm-hmm.
university,
Mm-hmm.
how were you? I know you were doing engineering at that time.
Yeah.
How were you managing practice, playing matches, studying, and making sure you're keeping that high GPA? Because I know it's really hard.
I mean, it is really hard. And I think one of the biggest support was my tennis coach, actually, too, in Louisiana, because as a team, the tennis had the highest GPA
Wow.
of
Okay.
all the sport of the team in the school program. So we were trying to keep up with that history and that whole try. We wanted to always have the best GPA. But at the same time, too, I felt like school here was definitely more manageable than back home.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the courses that I took here, I felt like, well, yes, they might be intense for someone who grew up here and went to primary school here and everything. But I feel like coming from Cameroon with a secondary level education, I feel like I honestly felt like I was a little bit a step above what the expectation was here, you know. But then at the same time too, I still knew that I still had to do my homework. I still had to do like in between practices. Sometime I remember going to the library, and I had a job on campus as well as an
Oh wow.
international student. Yeah. So, but the good thing is that I was working at the fitness center,
Okay.
and my boss was actually the tennis coach, so that's even more amazing
Right.
because we you if during the downtime we had the opportunity to open a book and read a book. So I would study at the library, I would study at my job, I would study when I get back home. And honestly, people just say that I love to study, but that's not really true. But that's something that I feel like I spend most of my life doing, honestly.
Wow. That's amazing. I didn't even know you were working at that time. So
Yeah.
for all those who are listening to us, Dr. Gamo was playing on a team. She was practicing. She was playing for her school. And on top of that, she was working. She has an on campus job. So she was doing four things being
Yeah.
a college athlete, right? So
Yeah.
we, I think through this message, we want to set up the goal that coming to college to play for school, if you have a big dream, you can achieve it. But at the same time, they have to be willing to put in the work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
She
you
said she
can
would
just
get exhausted sometimes.
Right. You'll be exhausted. Sometimes you will have to come back. I remember you will come back on a Sunday night from a tournament because most of the tournament are during the weekends, at least the away tournament. You come back on Sundays and very late at night. But then if you have something that is due on Monday, you have to do it. So I remember having to study sometime even after we come back from a tournament, whether I won or we didn't, whether we won or didn't, it didn't really matter, right?
Right.
You're gonna have to like, I think it's also because like I always felt like tennis on this, I mean, it's great for people like Serena Williams, right? People who are actually like way up there and they're making what millions of dollars by winning a tournament, you know. I just didn't know how realistic it was that I was gonna be that person gaining, like winning 8 millions of dollars or something like that. So I felt like having a backup plan and a solid backup plan, it was very important. And that's one thing that I would really advise people to always have. It doesn't matter if you become the next Serena and then you're still a doctor in the background, good, great for you. I mean, kudos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, how early on, I know you said that you went from engineering to med school. How hard was that transition for you? Was it easy? You say you took a couple classes?
Yeah. Actually, it was harder, which is funny because I'm more of a math physics person and chemistry than
Wow.
I am a biology person. I know, very weird and twisted that I'm studying medicine now. So I actually had fun doing engineering. It was easy, it came to me very easily. Building robot and doing things was very fun and easy to
Wow.
do. Yeah, but then because you need a certain number of courses to be able to apply for medical school, and you also have to take one of those standardized exam. It's called the MCAT.
Okay.
So I knew I needed to take, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 biology classes.
Okay.
So what I ended up doing was that my last year of engineering, because I was still having a full scholarship, I started taking a lot of biology courses included in my tuition. I was smart like that.
Very smart.
So I included the biology courses with my engineering courses, and so my scholarship ended up covering for that. And I ended up having to pay only for 1 semester because I was done, but I still needed the three. I was done with the engineering
Yeah.
program, but I still have a. I think I still had about 3 biology classes to take before applying to medical school. So I ended up staying an extra semester in college to do that part of things.
Okay.
But if I've known that earlier, I would have taken the biology courses at the beginning of my 4th year in college and I wouldn't have to pay a dime. But
Right.
hey, no, no.
That's amazing. I want people to catch this. She when she figured out she wanted to transition, right? Dr. Gamo, stop me if I'm not saying anything accurately. Dr. Gamo started taking classes early. Well, at the 4th year, she started taking some med classes that would
Hmm.
set her up to transition from engineering to medical school.
Exactly. Because
So,
you have to have specific classes to be able to apply to medical school.
okay, guys, I hope you guys are following with this. It's totally possible to become a doctor. And Dr. Gamu said it. She said if she knew earlier, she would have started taking classes when she was still under her full scholarship. So if you
Yeah.
have a scholarship, use that wisely and really know what your end goal is going to be. Is that correct?
Correct, because you can actually double major or get a get a minor. You can do, if you think that medicine is in the back of your head, that's something you want to do, then do a minor in pre-medicine. So you take all the classes that you need and it will be included in your scholarship instead of waiting and finishing the college before thinking about it. So if
Right.
you even if this is just a thought in your head, then get a minor in it.
Okay. Awesome. I'm hoping that they're listening because I have few kids that approach about medical school. And thank you so much for sharing that tip because that's really important for them to have.
Mhm.
Some of them are majoring in business right now, but they're like, I really want to do med school. So this is going to
Mhm.
help them because we hear usually med school is 7 years. You have to have the money. But with Dr.
Yeah.
Gamo, she was able to include it in there, even though she has to, she had to pay a little bit at the end, right? And
Mhm.
she did tell us she was working also. So it's
Yeah.
possible to do that. You can have that extra semester and be willing to put in the work to get where you want to go.
Right. And when it comes to money and scholarships, especially in college level, I felt like by asking sometime you receive what you ask for. So don't be afraid to reach out to program and ask them, hey, I need special assistance for this or that. And actually, for my extra semester, I ended up being an assistant coach for my team as well. So I ended up having a little bit of support from that as well. So just
Okay.
ask
Wow,
sometimes.
that's awesome. So Dr. Gamo was keeping a high GPA because you want to make sure you know that you need to keep that high GPA. So when you write
Yeah,
letters, they'll be like, okay, we do have a really good student here. Let's support her.
exactly.
And she was writing
Exactly.
letters. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. Because I feel like not having a high GPA, that's the first thing that would like shut the door so fast. And then next thing you know, you would need to have a master or some type of higher level of education before you're able to apply, to medical school. So keep that GPA. It doesn't matter what you study. If you're studying art, music, get a keep that GPA strong because it tells much about yourself than anything else.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So,
Mhm.
to all the college students, GPA, high GPA is really important. And Dr. Gamo said, don't be afraid to ask the school, is there any scholarship available that will fit my description or my level that can be applied to me? And say, keep asking, hey, can you help me? I need financial support, right?
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. So now this is the juicy part. I think this is the part that I really enjoyed because I was looking at you as a college player and seeing you transition from finishing the med classes and going to Yale or applying to Yale. Can you please tell us how that process was? Because that was I was screaming and my husband was like, "What? What's happening?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I know people go to Ivy Leagues, but having a close friend go to an Ivy League is I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I want you to know that you are a hardworking woman out there representing, all the young athletes from Togo, from Africa, from Cameroon, all over the world. But
Mhm.
I want you to know that what you did was amazing. It was, I personally don't know anybody who did that. So
Yeah.
please give us, kind of enlighten us a little bit on that process.
I mean, so when you're done with medical school, there's this big fears that just comes and take over because once you're done with medical school, it doesn't mean that you automatically get a job. No, you have to apply for residency. And
Okay.
this is where when you fail, it really, really hurts. So applying for residency was something that was very, very like, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine. I think it was one of the hardest thing I've had to do because you spend countless of hours writing not even just email because you have to do a personal statement. You have to get amazing, not great, amazing letter of recommendation. And during your whole 4 year of medical school, you have to continually impress your the medical team you work with, the doctor you work with, so that they can actually end up writing you that letter that you want so much. And
Right.
then if you actually want to go to like an Ivy League program, you have to do twice as much, sometimes even 3 times more work than everybody else because it's not for everyone and it just requires so much more. And I felt like applying for residency and getting in touch because at first I thought I wanted to go to Emory because for people who don't know, Emory is one of the biggest program in Atlanta because I went to medical school in Atlanta. So I thought I would want to go to Emory actually, and I went into the program. I saw how they did things, and I thought they were amazing and everything. But for some reason, I felt like I just didn't feel like I connected with what was going on there with the program itself, the resident, and everybody else. But then, and I was like, okay, this is the place that seems to be what someone from Atlanta aspire to, you know? So I felt like, well, I might as well settle and just be like, well, that's your dream, because that's everyone else's dream. So, but then during my application process, I said, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be that person who just like settle and say, oh, I'm gonna go to Emory. Not that Emory is not a great program, it's amazing, you know. But for me, I felt like I was settling in that because I was already in Atlanta.
Right.
So I said, you know what? What about going to Harvard? What about freaking going to Yale? Like, why not? Why not me? Why does it have to be somebody else? Like, why do other people have that I don't have? You know, like I work hard too. I don't sleep. I study like a freaking person. And I'm just like, so why not me? Like, what kind of special people it takes to go to Harvard or Yale, you know? So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna apply. So I applied to both school actually. I applied to Harvard, I applied to Yale, and I applied to Emory too, of course. And I was actually very, I'm not gonna lie, because like this is the kind of thing you do and you like when you like you just have that one moment of like over self-confidence. But then once the application process opened, I sent my application, and I think within like a week, the first week, I got a response back to both Harvard and Yale, and they wanted to interview me. I could not believe it. I
That's
I could
amazing.
not believe it, because I think I had the Harvard interview first, and maybe 3 or 4 days later I got the Yale interview. I was like, wait, what? I can be that person? Are you kidding me? No, why? I'm not even born here. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I didn't go to all the, because before you get into Harvard or Yale, you have to go to all those fancy primary school, fancy college, fancy everything, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, it was very surprise shocking, because I didn't go to any of that. I went to a small university in Louisiana, a small med school in Atlanta, and now they want me? Like, why? Like, why? But then, I mean, during my interview with the like with both program director, actually, I just felt, I was like, okay, Yale fell so much perfectly, because the program director was very straight to the point, no bullshit type of guy. And he was very like, he didn't pretend that he was somebody else. And that's the first time I realized that, oh my God, all those big school, they are not, they're just like every other school. It's just that at least now they are not lying, because a lot of program tells you things like, oh, we love you, but then they don't really want you there, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Yale, he straight up told me that I'm not gonna tell you that we like you and we would love to have you here. I'm not doing that. That is not me. I will never do that to anybody. So it's either you want to be here or you don't want to be here. We are not gonna. Exactly, that was his attitude, and it was not just about me. That's what he told every single person who applied there, because he said that at the end of the day, he wants you to go wherever your heart takes you, whatever place you feel like you're gonna fit, you're gonna have great relationship, work relationship, and be happy. That's where you should go. That's the way he put it. And it made so much sense, because when I interviewed with Harvard, I felt like just talking about things that was just like way over my head. I'm just like, no, no,
Relate to
no.
them.
I really couldn't relate to them, and I felt out of place. And it ended up coming down to the rent, because the rent in Boston is like 3 times the rent in New Haven.
Ooh.
And yeah, and you get paid more in New Haven than you get paid at Harvard too. So it was just like, it came down to very like little things like that, but mainly I decided to go where I felt like I was gonna be happy, and
Right.
that was Yale for me. So I put Yale before Emory. That's how I ended up at Yale. So we will never know if Emory wanted me.
Wow, that was amazing. That
Yeah,
was amazing.
yeah.
There's one thing you said that caught my attention. I wrote it down. You
Mm-hmm.
said you came from a small school and you still made it
Yeah.
because the people always think I need to go to a big school. I need to go to a
Mm-hmm.
D1. Because when I work with players that want to come on a scholarship, I need a D1 school. I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
a D1 doesn't always mean you're successful, right?
No.
And Dr. Gamo is the perfect example. She went to a small school, but with hard work, grit, and perseverance, she got to where she is today.
Yeah, and you have to believe in yourself. And sometimes even when you don't believe in yourself, just play the put your overconfidence shoes or your overconfidence hat on and just pretend.
Yeah. And you said
Yeah,
one thing also that really I really loved. You said, "What do other people have that's so special that I don't have?" You know that
exactly.
I think everybody should walk, or everybody should go out there thinking that way. Why is
Yeah,
this person, and I can't be that person, right?
exactly. Like, yeah, because when you think about it, you ask yourself, what is it so different? What is so different about a kids that go to Harvard and a kids that go to a small school and somewhere else?
Yeah,
What's the difference? I think the difference is in their head, is what you think of yourself, what you think that you can do.
yeah.
If you think you're Harvard material or Yale material, then you will be there.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep this quote forever. That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing
yeah.
that. And you said that when you were going to med school, when you went to Yale, the pay was high. That, well, was better than compared to Harvard. Does that mean you were getting paid once you applied for residency? I hope I said it right.
Yeah, yes, you did. So, yeah, during residency, you get paid because you're actually providing care to patient. Yes, you are
Okay,
still
awesome.
you're working under a doctor's supervision. So every time I go to work, there's another doctor with me who's making sure that I'm doing everything properly, you know. But because you're still providing care to so many people, you get paid for it. You
Awesome.
get paid during residency. So after medical school, you start getting paid.
Okay.
There's,
So
I
those
mean,
are
there's a lot of, yeah,
so
there's a lot.
after that you get paid. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I mean, but we can't finish the interview without talking about medical school fees, right? And expensive. It is expensive, right? It is very expensive, but that is something that you should ask yourself if this is something that you really want to do. Because I've seen people dropping out of medical school the second year or the third year in medical school, but then when you drop out in second year, you still owe a whole lot of money.
Right.
You can't just say, well, I'm just gonna drop out and forget about it. No. So you have to make sure this is something that you actually want to do, because you're gonna end up with a lot of debt,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're supposed to pay back the debt during your residency and after the residency when you're an actual a whole the way I say it is like a whole doctor,
Okay.
when you don't need to be under anyone's supervision.
Okay, good call because I missed that part. So once you're done and you start residency, you're still gonna be, not only you're gonna be paid, but you're still gonna take on loans to be able to afford and go to med school, right?
No, no, no. Residency is after med school.
Oh,
So
okay,
you get the loan during med school. And
got
then in residency, you get paid. You start having a salary.
it. Okay,
And some of the money you get go into paying the
the
loans
loan
that
that
you took in med school.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's really good
That's
strategy.
yeah. Yeah. Because if you drop out in medical school, then whatever job you get, you need to make sure that is enough to pay back whatever you own.
Wow.
So
Now I want to
yeah.
clear this out for everyone that's going to be listening to you. So, Dr. Gamo, you're technically saying your parent did not pay for you to go to med school.
My
Okay.
parents didn't pay for me to go to college. They didn't pay for me to go to medical school. They didn't No, they couldn't afford it because I'm not from a rich family. And my parents paid for primary school, middle school, and secondary school in Cameroon.
Okay.
Once I left Cameroon, that was it. They were done paying for my schools.
Awesome. I really want you to put it out there because most people say, oh, med school is for rich kids, right? Or kids are coming from wealthy families. Dr. Gamo is the perfect example coming from Cameroon. Her parents did not pay for her med school, but she still made it to Yale Medical School. Do they say Yale Medical School or Medical School of Yale? I want to I'm saying it right.
Yeah, medical school.
Yale Medical School. Okay, awesome. Now, I have one question before the final one. How was
Mhm.
it when you made it to Yale? You started, going to med. Like, how was everything?
There's that period in your life when you feel like, oh, you're way on the top, and then you're like, oh, so that's what it looked like. You're like, okay, okay. And you start kind of like starting to see everything like, wow, this is your new normal type of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of what it went for me, especially because I feel like I've spent my life thinking about those big name school as if they were some type of like treasure island or something, something that is unachievable. And then once I actually got there, even sometimes, even today, like it's been 3 years, sometimes I still have that moment. They call it the, what is that effect that everyone call it? I can't think of it right now. When you're like, I have the moment where I'm on the middle of my shift. Sometimes I will just stop for a second and I go, damn.
The
I mean,
imposter
yeah.
syndrome.
Yes, the imposter syndrome. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking about. So sometimes, like, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it just comes and you're like, whoa, what am I doing? What am I doing here? And then other days, I'm just like, wow, I'm a doctor at Yale.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like say that to myself doing it. I'm like, I'm a doctor at Yale. Like, what the hell? You know?
That's huge.
Yeah, but then like because you do it because I'm literally there every day, it kind of become routine. But sometimes I have to remind myself, hey, snap out of it.
Yes.
Okay, like snap out of it. You're actually where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
That's not everyone can say that they are where they wanted to be when they were like 10 years ago or something. So
I
I'm
agree.
very grateful too.
And you're very humble too. Very humble. You barely brag about it. You
I
barely
know.
open anything like that. I'm like, wait, listen, if I was you, oh, on my way to Yale, I would be showing off, but you're super humble. Like sometimes nobody can tell that you're in Yale because you barely talk about it. You don't even post anything.
It's true. I don't know what's wrong with me though, because I guess it's a good thing. Because when I
It
think
is.
about it, I always thought about, oh my gosh, when I'm gonna get a yell, they will be here, all of it. Like I would tattoo it on my forehead or something. But then when I'm there now, I'm like, well, okay, I'm here. But then it's like, what's the point of show off? What's the point
Yeah.
of like doing all those things? It's just gonna make people feel miserable. Why do I want to make people feel miserable? I'm a doctor. I'm trying to make people feel better. I don't want people to feel miserable. So I'm just like, but I guess it doesn't.
You're
Yeah.
just humble. You're just humble. Very humble. Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, what made you choose to go back and? Well, I know you said you're in a field where you're gonna be going back to, in a program where you're gonna be going back to Africa and help the rural areas. So, what
Hmm.
made you make that decision? Which is amazing, right? And
Yeah.
which is salute for compared to,
Yeah.
hey, let me open my own practice. Because if you open your practice, you're gonna be, making the big bucks. Like, what was,
Right.
yeah.
So I mean, for me, it's just that from the moment I said I made the commitment that I was gonna go to medicine, the way I picture it, it was me helping people in poor countries or in like, it was never about me going to do somebody's boob job or
Yeah.
like fixing someone's lips. It was never what I saw as being a doctor. So I actually just came back from Uganda. I was in Uganda for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And because I had to make a decision if um, global health medicine was something that I was actually gonna be invested in long term, because that's a big decision to make.
Mhm.
I was there for 6 weeks and I just saw how different things are. Like idea, for example, we have everything available. You can take care of someone as it's so much easier to just provide care. But
Right.
then you turn around and then you take a plane, you go to Uganda, you realize that the little thing that are so much are valuable at Yale that you don't even have to think about it. But in Uganda, you have to think about it. You want to do so many stuff for your patient, but you have nothing available. Sometimes it's just that they cannot afford it, or even when they can afford it, by the time they sell a land that they own so they can have the money to buy the medication or buy the equipment that you need, it's too late.
Wow.
So it's just like, it is so unfortunate. And I've seen so many people passing away because some one thing was not available, or even if the other things was available, a surgeon was not available. It was always something that
Oh
to
my
me can be
gosh.
so preventable. And it really, really broke my heart to see that. Like, yeah, you're gonna be practicing, you can practice in the US and provide the best care possible, but then you turn around and you go to another country, kids are dying for things that they shouldn't, you
Right.
know.
Wow.
And that's one thing that I just like it really stay on my mind because I'm just like I'm very passionate about that. And that would be another 2 years commitment after residency. I was supposed to get the big box after residency, but now I'm gonna go into fellowship, so that's another 2 years of training. Oh, my life.
Well, I
But
think
I think
what
it's
you're
worth
doing
it.
is, yeah, what you're doing is helping the world. Like what you just told me kind of broke my heart because you went back home and you saw reality. You went to Africa
Hmm.
and you saw reality, what people, the
Yeah,
day-to-day activity of people there, and
yeah,
how healthcare is so,
yeah,
it's not affordable like it is
yeah.
here. Wow.
Is even and it's very rudimentary, and the way people think about death is almost as if people have given up, you know. People think dying is okay, you know. I had like 13 years old dying in front of me, and I thought that was unacceptable, but the family, they didn't even cry because they see people dying every day. To them it's just like, well, it's just dead. What you gonna do? You know, the fact that they accepted defeat like that. You will not see a 14 years old dying in the US and no one does any like and no one gets sued, for example, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But they just accepted their fate basically. It's horrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you get, are you going to look for funding for this next project, or how is that going to work? Because
So yeah, I'm applying for fellowship. So the fellowship is gonna be funded by the by the fellowship program that I'm
okay.
planning on doing.
Okay.
There is a fellowship at Yale
Okay.
for global health medicine. So hopefully I'll get chosen. I'm gonna apply for it.
We'll be
Hopefully I
praying
get
for
a
you.
job. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll be praying for you. We know that's where your heart is. We know you're going to give 200%, doing that. And that's something you love, you enjoy. So we'll be praying for
Yeah.
you for that application to be triple approved, and the funding to be,
Yeah.
raised to the roof so that you can really go back and save those lives there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
And
would
the
need it.
last question is, what kind of
Mhm.
advice do you have for those college athletes? I say college athlete because that's the domain we're in. We're more like recruiting college. What's your message to them based on your experience?
I mean, my message for them would be, I mean, I hope you've watched this whole video in the first place because if you did, then there were multiple advices throughout the interview itself. But honestly, I would say believe in yourself and don't ever think that things are just gonna fall into your laps, right? You have to stem, you have to get up, you have to do your job, you have to do your part, do the work super hard, and don't give up. And I'm not saying that everything was always a success, you know. But you might take a different path before realizing, well, I need to go 300-degree the other opposite way. But just keep going. Like perseverance is the key, honestly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gamo. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experience with us so that other kids can benefit from that and they will be able to raise themselves or take their talent to the next level and be able to achieve what they want to achieve.
Mhm.
Thank
And
you.
wait, one more thing before I go.
Yes.
And always have a backup plan, okay? It's great to be an athlete. It's great to be I mean, you can be the Roger Federer, but have a backup plan. Having a backup plan doesn't mean that your first plan is gonna fall. It's gonna fail. It doesn't mean that. Just have one in your head.
Awesome. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank
So
you.